When I got home, after all that time away, a wave of exhaustion washed over me, but beneath it, a flicker of hope remained. As if on cue, sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the sky with hues of gold and amber. It felt like a sign, a gentle nudge from above. Driven by an inexplicable urge, I began searching through old drawers, rummaging through forgotten keepsakes, until finally, I found the rosary, and holding it in my hands, it felt like a bridge back to my mother, to the woman who had always been my guiding star. It was also a bridge to God, to the faith I had long neglected. Whispering, "I'm sorry," a simple plea for forgiveness, I felt a sense of release, a deep knowing that I was forgiven, that grace was already at work. Forgiving myself, however, was the hardest part of the journey, a battle against years of self-reproach. But grace, that unearned gift, gave me strength, a resilience I didn't know I possessed. Now, the rosary is a reminder, not of past failures, but of a new beginning, of unbreakable love, a bond that transcends mistakes, not failure. My mother's memory brings comfort, a warm embrace that soothes the soul, not pain, but a gentle reminder of her unwavering love. God's love is a lighthouse, a beacon in the darkness, always shining, a constant presence in a world of uncertainty, waiting for us to return, guiding us safely back to shore. No matter how lost you feel, how far you've strayed from the path, there's always a way back, a glimmer of hope, a path illuminated by grace. It might seem daunting, but all it takes is courage to just take the first step. One rainy afternoon, seeking solace from the storm within, I found myself drawn to the old church, its stone walls weathered by time and grace. I was irresistibly drawn to the quiet adoration chapel, a sanctuary of peace and reflection. I sat in silence, surrounded by the comforting stillness, finally letting my tears fall at last, a release of pent-up emotions. As I looked at the Eucharist, the sacred host, I remembered how Jesus welcomed the lost, the marginalized and broken, those who society often casts aside. He didn't wait for people to be perfect, to meet some arbitrary standard. He simply loved them, unconditionally and without reservation. In that silence, surrounded by the quiet grace of the chapel, I didn't feel like an imposter, a fraud unworthy of God's love. Instead, I felt like a child before his father, vulnerable and loved. My presence was my prayer, a silent offering of my broken heart, my tears, a raw and honest confession of my shortcomings. In that moment of profound vulnerability, I realized God wasn't waiting for me to be perfect, to somehow earn his love. He was just waiting for me patiently and lovingly, with open arms. The silence became a loving presence, a warm embrace that enveloped me in peace, not judgment, but pure, unadulterated love. Slowly, tentatively, hope began to bloom, a fragile but persistent sign of life, a tiny seed planted in the fertile ground of grace. Forgiveness wasn't something to earn, a reward for good behavior. It was a gift, freely offered, a boundless act of mercy. I thought of my mother's rosary, a tangible symbol of her faith and love. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel shame, only a quiet sense of peace. I felt a gentle invitation, a beckoning towards healing and wholeness, to begin again, to embrace a new chapter in my life. The path back wasn't about erasing mistakes, pretending the past never happened, but starting anew, with wisdom gained and a heart open to grace. Days blurred into months, each one a silent testament to my growing sorrow, and the silence in my heart grew heavier, a suffocating weight that threatened to consume me. I avoided my mother's photograph, unable to face the loving gaze that once brought me so much joy, believing I deserved this sadness, this self-imposed exile from happiness. Desperate to escape the gnawing emptiness, I tried to fill the void with work, burying myself in endless tasks and deadlines, and laughter, forcing myself into social situations, plastering on a fake smile to mask the pain. But nothing helped. The emptiness remained, a constant reminder of what I had lost. Alone at night, in the quiet solitude of my bedroom, the same heavy feeling returned, a crushing weight on my chest that stole my breath. I felt disconnected from God, as if a thick wall had risen between us. Family, the bonds that once sustained me, now felt strained and distant. And myself, I barely recognized the sad, hollow-eyed person staring back at me in the mirror. Prayer seemed impossible. The words caught in my throat, unable to reach the heavens. My mistake became my identity, a label that defined me in my own eyes, a prison built from self-blame, its walls reinforced by guilt and regret. I was trapped in a story of failure, a narrative of my own making, too tired to look for a way out, too weary to even try. Have you ever felt lost inside your own heart, adrift in a sea of sorrow, weighed down by a quiet ache, a persistent longing for something you can't quite name? The world moves on, relentlessly and without pause, but you feel stuck, frozen in place, unable to keep up with the relentless pace. You find yourself staring at a stranger in the mirror, a distorted reflection of the person you once were. I remember a promise I made to my mother, a promise whispered in a moment of shared intimacy. "Pray with this rosary," she said, her voice filled with a gentle urgency. I promised, eager to please her, but life got loud, filled with distractions and competing priorities, and the rosary, a symbol of faith and connection, disappeared into a drawer, forgotten and neglected. When she passed, her spirit ascending to a higher realm, the memory of that promise hit me like a storm, a sudden and violent wave of guilt and regret. I felt I'd failed her and God, betraying their trust and love. The guilt was a constant shadow, a dark companion that followed me everywhere I went. I watched other families, their laughter and joy a painful reminder of what I had lost. Other sons, cherishing their mothers, their bond unbreakable, and felt a sharp pain of regret, a deep ache in my heart that refused to subside. It wasn't just about the rosary, a string of beads. It was about love I hadn't honored, a promise I had broken. Every Sunday, I sat in the back of church, hidden in the shadows, feeling like an imposter, an unwelcome guest in God's house. The priest spoke of God's mercy, his boundless compassion for all, but I only heard reminders of how far I'd strayed, how unworthy I was of such grace. I felt adrift, lost at sea, with no land in sight, convinced I was too broken to ever be whole again, shattered beyond repair. The world was full of color, vibrant and alive, but all I saw were shades of gray, a bleak and colorless landscape reflecting the emptiness within. I was lost, carrying the weight of a broken promise, a burden that threatened to crush me.